Well, everybody, I have bad news. I have some bad news. Before I tell you the bad news, I want to get somewhere where I can pull over and show you, because the bad news is somewhat visual. There's a visual element to the bad news. Just gonna dip down into this industrial park here. Also, incidentally, it is so dang cold. This is the day after the big historic ice storm of late January 2026. As you can see visually, it's a very lovely day. But temperature-wise, holy cow, it is. It's in the 20s, and I can deal with it. Ooh, it's not fun. I'll say that. Anyway, let me dip in. Let's see, is there somewhere? Yeah, this one's unused. Nice. All right. So, what is the bad news? It's actually not too bad, but the bad news is I dropped the bike. Very unfortunate. And unfortunately, the worst part of it is on the beautiful luggage that luggage guy gave me. It's not just there. Of course, the slider took the brunt of it. A little bit of mar right there. A little bit on the blinker. I'm not too worried about that. Yeah, a little bit cracked in there. I'm not too worried about that. That's not a big deal. And that's not a huge piece. This panel right here, I could totally get that piece and swap it out. So nothing functionally is damaged, but the worst part about it, I would love to be able to stand here and tell you that something happened outside of my control, and I went down valiantly with glory and honor. That is not what happened. I was sitting in my driveway, letting it warm up, as I do. I had something in my hand. I think it was a glove or a camera or something, and it was on like it is right now, in neutral, and I let my right foot off the brake, totally absent-mindedly. I've been riding for 24 years now, off-road, on-road experience combined. I've dropped dirt bikes and enduros and stuff many times. It's part of it, right? But I've never dropped a street bike. I've had close calls, but I've never actually dropped one in the more than a decade now that I've been on the street, and it was my fault. It was my fault. And so what I wanted to talk about was what do you do? What do you do how do you make sense of a mistake like that? I was making a video at the time. I was actually going to pick up this 360 camera, which I'll make a video about at some point. I was excited about it. I was getting my gloves on. I was getting ready to make the video. I was thinking about what this 360 camera was going to bring to the channel visually, and I stopped thinking about the most important stuff, the basics, and I paid the price for it. Let me hop back off here. I will say this is going to be rectified. This I can probably touch up. I'm not too worried about like resale value. I'm going to keep this bike for a long time, but I think I can touch that up. I can replace this part, no problem. I'm not too worried about that little crack. I already have this top panel piece on the way, and I have a plan of how I can kind of resurface this. I was already going to sticker these bad boys up anyway, so that's just the first place I'll put a sticker. Lawrence, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry, man. I really hate that this happened. So, all said and done, the ramifications of it are not too bad. But But I did want to talk about how do you process something like this. And the longer you ride, the more likely it is that you will encounter something like this, where it's not what people tell you to be worried about. It's not the people out there who are drinking and driving and texting and doing all kinds of stupid things. Yes, you should be concerned about them too, obviously. But what happens how do you process it when it's your fault? You just do something stupid. And as someone who has done many things that were stupid, you would think I would be more experienced at understanding how to cope. What I have learned are a few things that I think that you could probably count as takeaways. First thing is, it's your fault. You can own the failure on your part. There's a sense of I'm safe in my own driveway. I'm on my bike. I'm not moving. I'm, a few feet away from my front door. I'm safe. I can check out. And that was foolish on my part to let myself get sucked into that way of thinking. But at the end of the day, it's my fault. It would be very easy to say, well, they should have made the kickstand harder for the bike to roll off of. I could say, well, society has conditioned us to have such short attention spans. No, you can own it. I'm owning it. I made the mistake. That's the first thing. The second thing is you can own a mistake and accept the responsibility without punishing yourself. In this case, the punishment is now I have to deal with, okay, first of all, there's a dog hanging his head out of that car. And that is adorable. Wait, is it a dog? Is that a person? No, that's a dog. Yeah, that's a dog. Okay. We have dog. Anyway, in this case, the punishment was immediate. I now have to deal with having a scuffed up bike and a scuffed up pride. Excuse me one moment while I deal with this. Okay, as we were. Beyond that, I don't need to punish myself. Really, in a way, self-punishment looks humble, but it's not. Self-punishment is really just more pride. You think, well, I'm too good of a rider, I've been riding too long, I have too much experience to let something that foolish happen. And on the one hand, yeah, I see where that's coming from, but that's pride. That's me saying I'm better than that. I'm a really good rider, and I shouldn't let stuff like that happen. Well, you're also human. Some of the best, most skilled, highly trained people still make mistakes, and the longer you do something, the more it's tempting to stop thinking about the basics and paying attention to just the simple things that could throw you off. That's what I did. I could respond to it in humility and say, you know what? We're all learning something. I learned something that day. The basics are even more important than I thought they were. Or you can respond to it in pride. I shouldn't have let that happen. I'm an idiot. I gotta flog myself publicly before I can feel better. That's pride, not humility. Someone could have a much worse incident and come away from it with a much healthier attitude than someone who has even a more mild incident than that and comes away with a really bad attitude. The person who comes away with a really negative attitude, that's the kind of pride that will actually end up getting you more hurt. Into thinking that you're better than you are, thinking that you're more immune to mistakes than you actually are, when, of course, you're not immune to mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. If you expect to make them from moment one, you're not going to be surprised. C.S. Lewis has this beautiful quote about expectations. If you walk into a room, before you walk in, someone says, this is a honeymoon suite. Expect the nicest of luxuries. It's going to be posh upon posh. It's going to be beautiful. And you walk in and it's just a normal bedroom. You're going to be pretty upset. But at the same time, if you're about to walk into the very same room and they say, hey, just so you know, this is a prison cell. This is like, just don't be surprised when you see something that's, you know, pretty bleak. And then you walk in and see a normal bedroom, you might think, well, this isn't too bad. And he's not saying go into life expecting the worst of the worst, but you know that the worst of the worst is out there. You know that mistakes will happen. You understand that bad things do exist, and when you bump into them in real life, you're not shocked. You understand. It was only a matter of time before something like this came across my radar. Whereas if you expect everything to be perfect all the time, you will always be let down. And that is no way to be. So what is the takeaway here? Have good expectations upon yourself. Put fair expectations upon yourself. You're gonna mess up. You're gonna goof. Accidents will happen. You can either walk away in humility or walk away in pride. You don't have to have resolution over the whole thing to have acceptance over it. If you walk into life expecting to own your failures, but not punish yourself too severely for them, you'll be a whole lot healthier. That's all I got for you. I'll see you on the next one.